everybody. Hope you're having a fantastic day. You know, it's that amazing time of the year where, on the one hand, some of us are so anxious for summer holidays to end and to get back to normal and back to school, and the traffic becomes normal once again, and people aren't distracted with trying to rush around to get ready for the summer holidays or exhausted getting back from them and waiting for the new normal to kick in. And regardless of where you are at, if you are not on target or slightly ahead of your target for this time of the year, then you've got some work to do for yourself as we go forward now into, we're 1 month into the third quarter of the year. And then that means before we know it, we're going to blink and it's going to be Labor Day, and a blink again, it'll be Thanksgiving. And before we know it, we're in the fourth quarter of the year. And you don't want to be working at trying to sell 40 vehicles in 2 months, such as November and December, when everybody starts getting distracted with weather and holidays and year end and all of that stuff. Right now is the time in the automobile business. Doesn't matter where you live in North America, that's Canada and the US, we really have to get ahead of our target and goal as much as we possibly can, because with the looming election in the United States, that could interfere with and distract shoppers waiting to see what party is going to get in and how that will affect monetary policy throughout the country. Now, the reality is none of that stuff really influences or affects buying. And when we, as I've shared with you before, or maybe you're new to the channel and you're having a look at this and you're new in the group, and you haven't heard me say this, or you haven't reviewed any of the videos before, that the easiest and fastest way for you to grow your business is with traffic that you can control. The traffic that we do not control is what 99% of automobile trainers always talk about. And this is the reason why so many of us struggle to achieve our hopes and dreams and goals and aspirations and hit our targets, because if there isn't anybody coming in the showroom, it doesn't matter how much training or how much teaching you have endured learning how to close, negotiate, or even product knowledge. If you don't have anybody to work with on it, then you're going to struggle, right? That's just the cold, hard truth of retail. And it doesn't matter whether you're selling toothpaste or automobiles. If there isn't a hungry, anxious, eager audience ready to buy your products, then you're going to struggle. So the bottom line is that even while inflation has driven prices rather quickly up, and most of us are used to it at the retail level, and I'm speaking of in the dealership on the showroom floor, not all of our consumers are necessarily accustomed to it and comfortable with accepting the fact that their payments have doubled, and some folks tripled and quadrupled. But the bottom line is that when we realize the change, we as a consumer, pardon me, let me preface that and make it really, really clear. When we as a consumer realize that the changes that have taken place on any automobile just in the last half decade, let alone the last decade for that matter, the technology has advanced so quickly and so wonderfully. And as we move forward to eventually autonomous driving vehicles, but we've got the smart cruise control with General Motors, and we have the autopilot with Tesla, and of course so many automobiles enjoying now the adaptive cruise control, where you just have to steer the vehicle, you don't necessarily have to brake. And in traffic driving, that's an amazing feature to have, not to make driving any easier, in traffic where it's stop and go, but the automobile at least takes that strain out of your back and working your legs and all the rest of it. Of course, a completely autonomous driving experience such as autopilot will make that even that much better, where we can just sit. We have to pay attention, you have to be ready to grab onto the wheel, but it will alleviate a lot of the strain and the anxiety of, do I accelerate now and brake, and our minds just being on and thinking about the day and everything that's going on. Anyhow, when we share those features with our clients, it makes taking them from where they are now in their old vehicle to what the new one will be able to do for them so much more easier and palatable to accept the fact that payments have doubled, quadrupled, tripled, and quadrupled. Pardon me. So when you look at your portfolio and you say to yourself, okay, Bill, I am not where I want to be. I want to sell more automobiles. I would consider myself a little behind target. Maybe your target is, let's round it out. Let's make it really easy for ourselves. 10 automobiles per month for sales. Now, if you're doing twice that, good for you. Maybe your target then is 30 per month. And you want to go from, well, if you're at 80 a year and you want to hit 120, it's still just as much work as being at 240 and wanting to hit 360. The amount of work and the traffic that you are attracting and the volume of people that are coming through the showroom doors is the same in both equations. We've got to meet, greet, make a friend, present the vehicle, demonstrate it to them, take them through all the activities that lead to the sale. But here's the thing. If you're not at where you want to be, for instance, if you want to sell 120 automobiles this year, be in double digits and selling 10 a month, that means that this time of the year, you should have 70, and I would even say, go so far as to say you should have 80 deals under your belt, delivered units out on the roadway. Now, there's two ways to count. Obviously, the number of sales, and I do believe that when you set your target and we set our objectives and goals, that we aim for sales. That doesn't include buyer's remorse, and doesn't include bad credit. It doesn't include not being able to get financed and credit applications approved. But you did your job. You sold the automobile. However, as we all well know, even for those of you that have a salary and it's supplemented or it's incentivized by some kind of a commission to hit bonus and targets, you want to get those delivered units because, well, sky's the limit. That's what they sold us on. And I'm talking about you and I, when we first started in the business, that's what they sold us on, that there is no ceiling to how much that we can make. So when we look at this time of the year, now we are through the 7th month of the year. We're halfway through the week of the first of the 8th month of the year. We want to get ahead of ourselves because now is the time to make hay while the sun is shining. And in order for you to be able to get customers in, because quite frankly, the car business hasn't changed a whole lot. The consumer still calls us, emails us, walks in asking the very same questions. I'm shopping around, or I'm doing my research, or I'd like to see, or what is the towing capacity of? And of course, they all say the same objections. Let me think about it. This is the first place I've been to. We had no intention of buying today. I'm going to talk to my advisor of whoever that is. So that part of the equation and that part of the training hasn't really changed a whole lot. And I'm happy to share with you in the manifesto how to go through the talk tracks that lead to those closing situations where you're selling 1 in 3 instead of selling 1 in 4 and 1 in 5 and 1 in 10. That's where your job gets really difficult. And that's where predictable consistency does not happen, does not work for you. So what I wanted to share with you was that the buyer behavior has changed. And that is an advantage for us because you've probably heard before, if you've been in the business for 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years, 30 years, somebody has said to you at some point, the easiest and the best sale that you're ever going to make is the person that you've already sold to. And that's because we've earned the know, like, and trust badge of honor. That's the secret to selling. When somebody trusts you to impart their hard-earned dollars, their cash with you, or sign up on the dotted line for a commitment of 60, 72, 84, 109 monthly payments, that's a feather in your cap. That's really quite wonderful. And the reason why you want to go after that particular buyer to sell them another vehicle is that you proved yourself in the very beginning. You built that value bridge. You touched on the things that really make sense to us. And the triggers that make us buy are so simple. I'm going to break it down in one of 3 things. One of 3 things will make them buy. It's either it makes their life healthier. So for instance, those individuals that want to buy an electric automobile, they think they're doing their part for making the world cleaner, the air better to breathe, a friendlier place to live and coexist in. And especially if they have children, this is their socially conscious way of doing their part to help green up the environment. The second could be wealth, right? This is the second trigger that that individual who has done very well this time of the year, and as we move forward towards the latter portion of the year, they may have hit their targets and objectives and they're going to treat themselves with a new automobile, or maybe they have achieved a promotion, or they were headhunted and a placement agency put them into a new job where they're making more money, or their spouse is making more money, or they just got married, they double their income, and so their wealth position is considerably better. And rather than driving that worn out old trade-in that they currently have, they purchase a new automobile. And of course, the last one after health, after wealth, is simply finances. Maybe for some people, they're spending too much money on the trade-in that they currently have, and they think to themselves, I'm putting good money after bad money into this vehicle, and I should stop doing that. These are the individuals, these are the hot buttons of particular shoppers that we want to attract and harvest, pull to us, bring into the dealership. And you do that through 65% of opportunities that 99% of automobile trainers don't talk about. So this goes back to the very beginning, and what I preface with how 99.9% of automobile trainers talk about what to do with customers that are in the showroom, on the telephone, or emailing in. And that's, while that's fantastic and fine, where the buyer behavior has changed is as a result of our media changes. Think about this in a more macro scale. 10 years ago, just 10 years ago, a decade ago, pre-pandemic, during the greatest record-setting time of the automobile industry, where we had 7 or 8 consecutive years of breaking records for all manufacturers, it was really quite easy for us to pick up a newspaper and place an advertisement. As an owner, as a dealership, as a dealer group, and even as a manufacturer. Today, I don't know about the region and the city that you live, but in the city that I live in, both of our newspapers have closed their doors. Now, they were conglomerates and they're associated with much bigger nationwide newspapers, but the local newspaper does not exist anymore. And so for an automobile retailer, and this includes Power Sport, this includes everybody, this includes Menards and Canadian Tire and Lord & Taylor and the Bay, and the list goes on of those large retailers, such even as Walmart, and their inability now to reach into our brains, let's call it that, in our living rooms when we pick up the newspaper and we just thumb through it for something to do, just as we would do thumbing through the feeds of our social media. This is where the customer is different, because they're receiving the advertisement via that electronic device of our mobile applications and our mobile devices. And especially if your microphone is turned on and your security you haven't paid attention to your security settings in a very long period of time, and you've got various apps listening to the conversations that you're talking about, and then all of a sudden you go, oh my gosh, it's the strangest thing. We're talking about my friend in water ski boats the other day, and now I'm getting ads in my feed about water ski boats with Ski Nautique and Mastercraft and Malibu, and the list goes on and on. The reality is, a lot of consumers are being influenced in your market by another advertiser in a far off marketplace. Now, Google has done an excellent job of geofencing their advertising circles. AutoTrader has done the very same thing as well. However, Facebook does not do so. And so when you look at how you're going to sell another 70 vehicles between now and the end of the year, you want the bulk of those sales to happen between now and the end of October. So this is what started the whole idea in the post that I had yesterday on sell 45 vehicles in 90 days. 90 days. Because depending on how many vehicles you've already got right now, add the 45 to the number that you have sold and delivered, and now you've probably positioned yourself extremely well to be able to weather the storm of November and December as we move forward with Black Friday and holiday season and Christmas and New Year's, and then everybody wakes up out of the ether and realizes how much money they spent, and now they don't want to spend any money until spring of 2025. How you are going to capitalize on this market in 2024 and get ahead of your targets so that you can weather that storm that comes around every single year. It's cyclic. I don't want to create a panic situation for any of you, but it is it is timely. It comes around every single year, no matter what kind of economy you're in. Of course, when we're in a really tough economy, it's more noticeable, and the recession plays more of a havoc with us. However, when we're in good times, people tend to even come in during those slow seasonal times of the year.